few weeks ago I presented, and Jennifer Conwheeler is here?
Yep.
And she gave me some, actually you all gave me some critiques, so this is a resetting of my next version with the critiques in mind. But picture yourself, this is basically my first session of folks who purchased my online course. So picture yourself in front of your computer. Now, I'm going to be behind my computer, but so you want to hear if my voice is engaging enough there and the slides. So we'll see how that works. And then, okay, I'm going to be recording on Camtasia. So I might, if this works well, I'll repurpose this. So if you hear something, if you want to make a comment, kind of just smile about that comment or not to make a sound. Okay.
Like, be quiet, people.
So if you have to sneeze, leave the room.
Now, one thing I found, I listened to my talk from last time, and I found when I tried to practice on my own at home, like it didn't come across. Like it didn't come across like I presented here, even though at home I had better contact, but it was better when I presented in front of a group.
Sure.
So like if you have something in the back of your mind to help me in that respect when I'm home recording the rest of this.
Hey,
Of course.
real quick, so you don't want us to make any noise?
Right.
I can do that.
I'll try.
I don't know if I can.
I was about to say,
Yes, I can.
that is not in my wheelhouse.
And if you say something funny, I
Do you
cannot
need
be
to go ahead and
held
leave now
responsible.
before he starts?
So
you
I don't know if
can-
there might be a way of editing that out of Camtasia. There is. Yeah. Okay. Let's begin. Welcome to the Stress Mastering course. I really appreciate your interest. This is presented by my Whole Health School, and I feel like there's such a need in today's world for all of us. Don't you think there needs to be a little less amount of stressed people on the face of the earth? Just think of that. And so this course is helpful in that respect to have calmer, more composed individuals on the face of the earth. I'm excited to share my experience as a health professional, health educator, and more importantly, my personal experience in regards to handling my own stresses that I found compelled to look to share with the world. So let's begin our time. Course promise. So this course is to help you answer the question, how can I better handle the stress in my life? So just think about that for a moment. Think about the things you would like to handle better. I'm sure certain things have come to mind. There's different approaches to handling stress, and this is one approach. My doctor told me to avoid any unnecessary stress so I didn't open his bill. So I don't know if you've had circumstances in your life when you didn't really want to look at something. I know when I do individuals' blood work at times, some folks don't want to do their blood work until they feel they're healthy enough to get their blood taken. So to see if they're afraid of getting those results. So as we know, that's really not a healthy way to address our stress. Stress Mastering course includes tools to relieve your stress in the moment. How often, when we get challenged in the moment with something, that something triggers us, how quickly can we let go of that rather than letting that irritation linger for minutes, hours, days, weeks, even years. So all that stored stress has an effect on our health. So we want to look to see what it takes to address those challenges in the moment. Tools to build your resilience to stress. Okay, what we know is if we build a resilience, then when the moments come along, we're better able to handle those things rather than those things getting stuck within us. Tools to use your stress for growth and transformation. Now, did you ever think of the greatest challenges you have are your greatest opportunities for your own growth and change for the better to move yourself forward in this life? I found in my own experience that, in the past, certain stresses I really didn't want to deal with, and I basically suppressed them. And, that eventually led to some health concerns, but we want to prevent that from happening for our own selves. We want to use our challenges for those purposes, growth and transformation. Course intent is for you to better master your stress so you can experience greater health and be able to provide more for your world spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, and financially. So providing more for our family, our friends, and for the world in general, not just financially, but also spiritually, helping to lift individuals up emotionally, helping to share mentally things we might know that may be of benefit to share with others, physically helping individuals move, socially including individuals. So there's a lot more. If we are handling our stresses better, we'll be in position to be healthier and have more of a function for our health. Stress mastering sessions include why and how to practice HeartMath. So I found through the HeartMath Institute that there's specific tools to help address our stresses of the moment, as well as building resilience. I've become a certified HeartMath practitioner, which I love sharing the tools with individuals I work with to help each person handle their stresses better. And the course will go into various one of those tools. Essentials of nutrition for stress mastering. Now, I also recognize as a health practitioner, if our bodies are properly nourished, we're going to have a physical foundation to be able to have, again, more physical resilience in terms of handling our stresses. So we'll have a specific devoted session entirely to that. And lastly is actualizing our innate potential influence. Now, each of us is uniquely designed to provide something into the world. My chiropractic mentor would say, basically the disease is the interference, the cause of disease is the interference to life expression. When we allow for our natural life expression to find integrated relationship with others, we're actualizing our influence, which has the greatest influence for our health, but also the greatest influence for our fulfillment. Whole health standards of presence pact. Now, as you go through this course, and as you go through your life, these are things to keep in mind, to remember. And if we keep these things in mind, they help really give us a solid foundation to deal with the things that arise in our life. I pledge myself to remember, my health and fulfillment is leveraged by how I handle the stresses in my life. My health and fulfillment is leveraged by how I handle the stresses in my life. So something I've realized in working with individuals is we need to remember that. Whole health standards of presence pact, I pledge myself to remember. As I better handle the stresses in my life, this in turn helps to influence others to better handle the stresses in their lives. So just think about circumstances with your family, say, for example, that if one person goes off and another person maintains their calm and composure, how that actually helps in the situation. But when everybody goes off, you know what has happened. Whole health standards of presence pact. I pledge myself to remember, as we individually and collectively offer a healthy, coherent influence into the world, healthy transformative processes can occur for all humanity, as well as all the earth and beyond. So this is the bigger picture. If you think about not handling stresses for yourself, but you think about those close to you, close to us, and then also the realizing that we have a world influence, and to recognize that, and letting these things be ingrained in our subconscious. So in our pledge, I put this together, and the last part is pledging. I so pledge myself to remember that I may know the integrity that the above affords for the greater healthy expression of myself, humanity, and the earth as a whole. So I would suggest you print this one out, put it in a visible place, you can see it every day, so you remember these things as you carry through your day. Now, I know also that there needs to be support. If we're supporting each other, again, together, it helps with us handling our stresses rather than trying to do it all by ourselves. So I'm setting up planned live group online sessions And I've set up a Facebook private stress mastering group page to help sharing our collective stress mastering process together. So let's begin with module 1. Okay.
Okay, perfect. That was exactly
Good talk.
10 minutes. So I thought, with you being hidden from my view, I was watching the slides and hearing your voice, I think, in a very similar fashion than I would if I was sitting at home. So that was a good simulation for me. I thought your energy was good. I thought the way that you spoke, and you're listenable. I don't know if that's a word, but you made it easy to listen to you while you were doing the online training presentation. And believe me, I have listened to some folks who are not listenable, and so I appreciate that. So I have strong opinions about slides. So I will share this with you to do with what you will. So on my website, I have a lot of advice on doing slides. I also, one of the folks on my featured on my website is a man by the name of Tom Nixon, who's a member of NSA Georgia, and he's brilliant with slides and stuff. So what helped me think of it differently was a man, Roger Corville, told me that when people are watching a webinar or something on the computer, the closest thing it's like to us in our rest of our life is watching television.
Sure.
And he talked about watching a documentary and timing how quickly they change scenes in a documentary. So not like an action movie or anything like that, a documentary. And I went through and I did it myself. The longest they ever held a scene was 20 seconds. More often it was more like 5 seconds, then another camera angle. 7 seconds, another camera angle.
Yep.
So don't limit yourself to having all your bullets on the same slide, for instance. Don't worry about how many slides you have or whatever. Think about, they're watching television, they're used to a lot more movement, a lot more something, something, something. So consider that as something to think about when you're putting together your slides. And I think I'll just stop there. Because I could go on about this like forever.
Right. I know with the slides, that's what Jennifer said too, and I added more slides than I did last time. But obviously,
It is much, but it is better. It is actually better structured.
I think, if I were you, I think I'd spend a little bit of time with Tom. I do think the slides are gonna make a difference when they're not seeing you. One of the questions that I know I posed to you last time, and it was better, but I'm not sure that it hit with me this time, was why am I here? And am I more committed after this intro than I was when I paid my money? Because if I'm not more committed, then your objective is you want to have impact, right? So it's important to you that they be committed, they be in the program. And I'm not sure yet if this is going to cement that for you. And I know we talked about like kind of almost, you have to sell it as you go, right? There was the how to handle stress better in your life in the very beginning. Maybe instead of asking, this course promises to help you answer, it becomes, this is why you're here, or ask maybe some of your attendees, why did you decide to do this? And share that in the trends with the audience to say, there are X number of you here, and 2% said that that you want to learn how to deal with anger. Others said you've got physical ailments. There are a lot of things that are going on here. So I think there could be something that connects the audience back to why they purchased to begin with. When you got to tools, it's escaping me. There were a lot of questions about how do you handle stress in the moment, things like that. I think what I want to know, especially if I am in a stressful place at that moment, I want to say, we're going to give you a toolkit, and in that toolkit, you're gonna learn techniques for how to handle stress in the moment. Right? It's subtle, but it's different from asking me, how do I handle it? Because I think I suck at it, right? So then I start going down that spiral and my brain goes in a different direction. And I think you could use some metaphors. I'm thinking of like a pebble on a river, not a river, lake, where you get the ripple effects of how, you know, the change that you make in yourself affects those that are directly around you and then affects the world. There are some images, and I know Tom could do a masterful job with this, but maybe there's a metaphor to think about there to help convey that in ways that just the standard word description doesn't. So that's it.
And again, it's one of those things I was realizing, probably about 80% of my presentations are online. And that when you're doing your introduction, one of the things that I do when I'm presenting from my desk, I actually have a picture of an audience just that sits behind the desk, because I think everybody does execute better delivering to an audience, because you get that little implied feedback about what's working, what they hear. So you kind of make that up. But even on those presentations, they're not recorded. I'm still talking to people. I think you've got some comments about the slides. One resource that helped me a lot, there's a book called Zen Presentation.
Presentation's in.
The presentation's in, yeah. But the core concept, so even the slides, like as I was writing notes, I was like, even by default, if you switch this to a dark background, light front, and reduce your words by 80%. Like you have a picture to go with the tools. And like I noticed, the picture changes on your tools for the mastering stress techniques. If that was the only word on the slide, tools to use stress to relieve stress in the moment. That right now, maybe you got that road rage person in the car, and then, you know, tools to help you grow, and maybe that's, you know, a workout picture, something, you know, something along those lines, so that you get the image. Because obviously, if you are reading the slides, they are too, and we read at about twice the pace that a person speaks naturally. So we would have read everything that's on that slide if you read the whole slide. I like the idea because it is resonant. I think we have a very stress-filled society right now, so it is, I think the idea of that Chrissy had of reminding them that they have a headache before you offer them the Tylenol is still, you know, it's really relevant to get them attached and focused so that they pay as much attention to this as the cat video that's going to come up on their screen, you know, inevitably during the time. And yeah, so those are the main things, is thinking that once you have to remove yourself as a character from what they're seeing, is replacing it with something that moves as fast or as dynamically, because that's, once you're in the computer screen, that's what you're competing to. The advantage that we have in a room is everybody's here and they can't go anywhere. But
So more slides, less text.
more slides, and you know, it allows you to go at a faster pace, you know, because there's only one thing on the slide, and even if you fill in color around it, it still will mandate that you move. You know, keep it dynamic so that you replace what's normally your body energy with visual motion through the deck, if you will. And then, you know, big pictures that take up the whole screen. I see that you've done, you know, kind of comics and clip art right here, but because stress is such a real thing, and there's so many visceral images that, you know, you can get out there. Yeah, I would encourage, you know, just adding on the picture effect to make it rich. And a consideration, because it's a course and it's on your computer, you can drop into your camera every once in a while. So I can't see you, but this is me. I'm a normal guy, you know. I have stress just like everybody else. See this line right here that comes from when I frown. Just thought about a way to get your personality back into it, so it's not necessarily just everybody's course.
Excellent.
I guess the only thing I could say is I really wanted to have just a little bit more personality from you. Like when you did tell the joke up there, I didn't get I didn't get that that was supposed to be a funny thing, I mean, your voice didn't really change throughout that. And I would have liked to have had just a little bit more of that, hey, the reason why, I didn't, my doctor said this, and of course I can't talk today for some reason. But it's the kind of thing where it brings you into it versus you just talking through it. And so more of that, where you're in the picture itself versus I'm just reading this on my screen, kind of thing. Yeah.
Good, very good.
Steve, when you first started, if I were you, take a nice deep breath and get into a Zen position
I need to do my
and start, because you came across as almost like yelling. I'm hearing, maybe it's the fact that I have this new hearing aid, I can hear much better now than I used to. But I would just take a deep breath and then get started, because I had much the same issue too. Because I'm just like ready to get out there and just pounce right on my presentation.
Great reminder.
Yeah, just deep breath. All's good. And your slides are better than what they were before, but I agree with everybody else that I would go for just a couple words on each one. No full sentences. Just push yourself in order to have no full sentences. Just a couple words in order to express it. Maybe showing the picture, on there. Having the darker slides with the white background might be able to help as well. Just thinking, you want the audience to get into a less stressful position.
Right.
This is what you're talking about. So your slides need to convey stress relief. And when you have a lot of words on there, then to me a lot of words indicate more being pounded with information. And I'd rather see the beautiful sunsets and the parks and that type of thing. I do like the way that you took our comments from last time. You moved what you're going to learn from this course, and you moved it to the front rather than burying it. You did a much better job on that. So good job of taking our last comments. Also, getting back to the thing, what I would do is on the bullet points, I'd make a download available with all the full, either the slides or the full sentences. So if you're going to go ahead and go to, simple expressions or words on there, but you want to be able to give them more that they can go back and look at, then you can make a download available of the full bullet points that's there. And I guess you're recording this so they can go back and listen to it, right?
Yeah, they'll have access.
Yeah, they'll have access to it. So they can go back and listen to it a second or third time on top of that as well.
Great. But one thing I've realized with the whole project, it's a work in progress. You can't just put out an online course
Yeah.
in 2 weeks or
Lots of pieces, right?
it's
Yeah.
a process there. So appreciate all your comments.
Steve, I really liked your pauses in the beginning when you were asking the audience questions, to Mike's point about allowing the time for them to think about that. I think you did a really good job with that. Help them get into where they are and where their stress is coming from and why they're even taking this course. That said, I'm sure that we would all be happy to stand together and give you a group picture, because I think you need to get it blown up, put it on your wall. When you present, you need to stand up. I teach webinar. Present, stand up.
Real talk, get up.
It will help your energy so much. It will change the way you talk. You're standing up. Whether or not you choose to change your slides, but I think you're going to, whatever words you put on the slides, don't read them. They're reading them. They're already, even if it's only 2 words, they're already reading them. All the extra stuff you were saying, say all of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Throw that slide up there, but don't read every word, because you need to give them a reason to listen to you. And if you put every word you're saying up on the slide, I could look at the cat videos and just kind of watch your slides go by and read them. Once I realize you're reading every word, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to multitask. I've got an email to get out. I've got something else. So you want to keep them engage with you. And the way to do that is give them something that they can't find just by watching your
This
webinar.
is wonderful, you know, this is how accelerate this process.
I wrote pretty much everything I've written down, but one thing I found myself repeating was to animate your voice. And you're right, that I felt like a little too relaxed in that chair. So I would, it's interesting to talk about stress, but you have to get them to an excited mode to listen. So there's that interesting balance. I could listen to your voice and go into meditation and no problem. But I don't think you want them to do that during this. I wasn't fully paying attention to what you were doing. It was an effort to pay attention. But the few times I did, there was one thing that stood out for me is you have one of the slides that say why, then, and how. And for some reason that just bothered me. I would prefer to see how and why. For some reason, how and this is why versus the other way. Just a slight little thing that stood out for me. But I thought you did a great job, and I enjoyed it, and I want to hear more about. I can really use what you're saying.
This is good. Thank you.
I like how you did this. This was pretty cool. How you use your time. I wrote good use of questions. Kind of like everybody else said, slow down a little bit and put more emphasis on your key points. That makes sense. And I love how you said, I pledge myself to remember. That could be kind of like, I have a dream kind of a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's it.
Can I add
So-
to that too? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
With the pledging, it almost felt like we were going still into it was just a little monotone. But when I would like when you are going into the pledging, let's make a pledge.
Oh, Steve.
Let's engage them into okay, we're committing together, and this is why, and have a little conversation there.
So like
And
all
then-
hands in.
Or maybe say it with me. How about like say it with me, Lori?
Christy said I had 2 minutes left, but I was everybody put their hand on their heart and then pledge together, that's what I had to do.
Yeah. It just it just gets back into let me get your attention. We're now making a pledge, and we're making this pledge because we're wanting to commit to this. And then you read it. 'Cause I just heard you reading. I didn't hear you talking to me.
Great.
And I guess along those lines, as I was going through, I rewound in my head, there was the strategy for delivering an online courses. Even though I'm not here with you, I encourage you to listen actively. So you had an introductory question where you said something about something that causes or creates stress for you. You able to pause and think about it?
Yeah.
Ask them, what were you thinking about? Write that down. We're going to show you ways to use that to relieve it in the moment, to grow from it, to do all of those things as part of my promise.
Right.
But at least that way, as you get to it, because I did find as you got to the end with the pledging, I wasn't sure if that was a pledge you were making to them, meaning those were the standards of your brand, or that was a pledge that you were asking them to make to themselves. So let them know. I know I'm not there with you, but I can see you not putting your hand on your heart.
Close down that other window.
I see what you
If I look like you, I said, they make sure.
I do have one more thought. So when I was listening to you, one of the things I was thinking was, get to it already. I've already decided to take this class.
Mm.
Tell me how I can release my stress. So just, I put that on my paper, but I didn't know if it came across right. So
Yeah.
just think about
I can
that.
abbreviate this. This is just an overview before Module 1, which begins.
Yeah, but
It's a long, and I was curious if it was 10
Help
minutes
cut it
because you had
out.
10 minutes of things to say, or it was 10 minutes because you had 10 minutes to speak here. Because I thought, I suffer from incredible ADD. Like I don't even read a long email. I mean, if you got something to say to me, put it in a bullet point.
you're just like every
Good to
executive
know.
on the planet.
This is good to
I'm the
know.
most stressed out person you'll ever be, and I need you to, I want less.
Especially if they're stressed out. They're like, get to it already. I need this. Give it to me.
I need to know, but give it to me.
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
What that might look like, even your standards of presence packed, you have the 4 different slides. As each one came up, 9, 10, 11, and even 12, you reread the heading again for each one.
Yeah.
I pledge myself to remember. You can paraphrase through that, like to her point, and get to what the pledge is, and maybe say, let's say this together like you were planning on. I think that's a really good
This is
idea.
great.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. This is a
Excellent.
this is a whole new endeavor for me, so I'm
Yeah,
glad for all
you're
the
doing,
comments.
it's a lot, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's a lot.
And
You're doing
remember,
great.
guys, you can provide some additional feedback to him offline as well. So, so if you didn't get your comments today, then if we didn't get them on the recorder, but I know Steve would appreciate any of that
Absolutely.
directly.
Yes.
All right, and with that, we're going to get to our